reported on some very interesting things. Case in point, questions I've had to ask police officers. Like I go to an accident, like a motorcycle accident, and I would stand there with a police officer from here to here and just be like, whose foot is that? Wreck's all down there, but there's like somebody's foot. I'm like, that's something I should seek therapy about, but I didn't. Newspaper reporting, it was something when I was in college, as the majority of us in here are skaters. We've dealt some time dealing with police officers. And I grew up in a very small town called Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin. You've never heard of it, it's okay. But I don't know about the rest of you guys, but the most dangerous thing in the world, in my opinion, is a bored small town cop. And we spent a lot of our times trying to outrun the cops, because when they would stop us, they wouldn't just stop us, but like, hey, you can't skate here. They'd stop us, they'd search us, they'd detain us. It was generally like a 2-hour episode. They'd call our parents. And so in my 18-year-old brain, you know, going to college, you have to decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life. I figure, oh my god, I'll go be a cop. But instead of being one of those cops, I'm going to be one of those cops. I'm like, look, I'll just go with this spot. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to circle back in a half hour. You know, do what you got to do. But if you're still here when I come back, there's going to be problems. Until I started taking classes and I met my classmates. Who was like, oh, you guys are going to be the ones I'm going to be police officers with. No. You don't want to do that. This is a small state school in Minnesota. It's a lovely school. However, it's like one of those, a lot of guys go, I'm a former Marine, like they walk into class like sizing each other up. I'm like, so my sophomore year, I wrote two screenplays just for fun. Just sit at home and write. So then one night I was all drunk, with which we all make our best decisions while doing so, and I look in our little book of majors at the university, and I'm like, there's creative writing and journalism. And I chose journalism because I didn't know anyone who was a professional creative writer. Those people make coffee. Unless you're Frank, then you teach, that's cool. Yeah, the interesting thing about the book, a lot of people, the book is self-published. I started my first book, A Constant Suicide, in 2007. I decided to create our own publishing firm. And the fun thing about that is if you self-publish, you never really have to worry about market value of a book. First thing, if I ever took this traditional publisher, like, you need to change the title. That's kind of an alienating title. And people ask her, like, where did the title come from? And it actually has a very simple solution. Is that someone, when I was reporting for the newspaper, somebody's like, oh, what are you covering today? I'm like, oh, just heartwarming topics like assault weapons or pedophiles. And I'm like, you should use that as a book title someday. So I did. But prior to any of those jobs, working for newspapers, I was a senior, I had to quit my job to do this tour. I was a senior writer at Healthline.com. Prior to that, has anyone in this room worked at Walmart? Oh, I got one! Oh, like 10 stops in, finally I got one! Anyone work at Kmart? What'd you do at Walmart?
Cashier.
That's a cush job. That is a cushy job. There's a position at Walmart called stockman. And should you ever have children, you should warn them about it. You talk to them about drugs, you talk to them about people offering candy in advance, and you warn them about being a stockman at Walmart. I got the job when I was 16. I thought it was a pretty cush job in my hometown because I didn't have to deal with deep fried food. And the problem is I had to deal with pushing carts. Ours was attached to a mall. And there's this thing that exists called snow. I don't know if Texans know about it. We're gonna get, like, no matter how deep we get, we'd have to go around the mall and collect the carts. And that job sucked. The worst thing in the world was cleaning the bathrooms at Walmart. And I will say this, if you ever want to settle a gender debate, many of you guys here may have lived with women or shared feminist space, the bathroom cleanliness is typically an issue. But when it comes to public bathrooms such as Walmart, I will say this, women are disgusting. Guys' bathroom take like 10 minutes to clean. Women's bathroom, I don't know if it's like the hovering thing or whatever it is, but it was always like a disaster zone that gave me PTSD. And I had that job, and it's always just like the fallback. You can always go get a job at Walmart, no matter what it is. You can astrophysicist that fell out and just been whatever, go be a cashier at Walmart, which I did have that job. But one day when I was talking to my friend that I worked with at the paper, and I was very, newspaper reporters, you don't get paid much, and it's kind of a crap job depending on what you're doing. Like, I was dealing with the worst society had to offer. I covered cops and courts. And that every day I'd go to, everyone I talked to, like if I called you on the phone, you were probably already having the worst day of your life. You were dealing with a dead child, you just got indicted for something. Like, I was not a person you really wanted to talk to. And I made $25,000 a year, which is not a lot if you're trying to pay off student loans or anything like that. So one day I was just totally pissed off the job. I hated my editors, hated all this stuff. I'm like, I'm gonna quit. And I was talking to my friend and I'm just like, wait a minute, I don't know how to do anything else though. And I was just talking to him, I'm like, man, you know what, if I end up quit this job, I have to stay at this job. So I quit this job and I end up like probably getting my old job back at Walmart, moving home with my parents. And then I thought, who the hell am I kidding? I'll probably just end up taking hostages. So that's where I came up with the idea for this book. And that segues into chapter 1. It's called 12:48 p.m. Oh, and before I go, there's a rollerblading zine that if you haven't read, it's called The Radvocate. I have copies here for sale for like $2. They're great. And the editor of it sent me a present for my book tour, the Goosebumps bookmark. So this is chapter 1, 12:48 p.m. Cock a shotgun behind a man's head and you'll have his full attention. It doesn't matter if he's never seen a real gun or felt how heavy they actually are, he'll know that noise. It's worse when it follows the hollow plastic and metal tink of a shell casing bouncing on the floor before it falls still. The first sound tells him you have a weapon. The second tells him you've already used it. The first time I heard it, I wasn't too far from here, come to think of it. Follow the failing tourist shops and past the closed mall on Highway W. Take a right on 64th, you'll be there in no time. I don't remember his name and I'm not sure many other people do. I've forgotten more names than I should have remembered. He was that balding, fat, middle-aged white guy with a strong yelling voice, the self-appointed expert on anti-gun violence. Since he was entertaining to watch in a debate whether or not he made any sense, he was on the news a lot. Everything he'd protest at least got a mention somewhere, whether op-ed or the national blotter. His status updates were fodder for the 24-hour news cycle. No one understood the reasoning behind it, but that didn't stop him from doing it. So when he finally put his gun owner's rights where his mouth was, there wasn't much else to say. With 2 thrusts of the forend, a live round went into the chamber and a dead man came out of the room. I watched it all and did nothing to stop it. I feel differently about today. It's been said that the passionate only sleep when they're dead. If that holds any truth, I buried myself long ago. In a small room with people I've worked beside for months, but only know by their name tags, I'm not sure any of this comes as a surprise. I've never thought of myself as a bad person until now. Many people have called me evil, but I've never believed them. Only today do I think they might have been onto something. One second, Enriqueta walks in the door to microwave her $5 prepackaged hamburger without condiments or vegetables, and the next she's covered in blood spatter. Not clumps or clots, but that fine mist that emits 20 feet away from the source. She looked in the direction of the spray. She froze. She didn't panic or run. None of us did. It was all too much to handle at once. We thought we'd already experienced the worst humanity had to offer. We've been trained to take abuse, not ask questions, and smile through it all for low wages. An application starts a process, which is usually preceded by a bit of desperation. Then the interview, you're in. Then a week of orientation and you're on the grid and part of the system. You clock in, work, take a break, work some more, take a lunch, go back to work, take another break, go home. Every 2 weeks you get a paycheck. My name tag gets smock read John, 1 year service. Proud member of the Big Box Customer Service Team 1202. How can I make your experience with us today at Big Box perfect? Now I'm holding a shotgun and my shift manager lies dead at my feet. My coworkers are staring at me like they're waiting for me to go fully loaded on them. I don't have any plans to at the moment. There's no macho one-man army standoff here. There's a whole bunch of scared people, one gun and big box radio playing over the loudspeaker. Troy, our store manager, cuts on an ad for a women's razor. It's been a few minutes since he's page code green, so there's been enough time to get employees near the emergency exit to prevent shoplifting. And to think I used to be kind of famous. Attention customers, he begins. Due to circumstances beyond our control, your family-owned neighborhood big box will need to close immediately. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause, but it's important that you leave your unpaid items behind while you use the nearest exit in a calm fashion. Again, we apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. As always, we appreciate your patronage to your local big box. He makes it sound like we're closing because the Packers are playing in the Super Bowl, Tucker says as the music continues. Troy's tone was calm, and he stuck to the script, careful not to use the word evacuate. People generally panic when they hear that one, especially since EJ 87. Troy was careful. He too has been trained well. Hostage situations are code green. White is an accident, black is severe weather. Red is fire, blue is a bomb, and orange is a general emergency. Code Adams for a lost child. Calling Mr. Hannah generally means you're out of options. Training is meant to put you in autopilot so you can get through moments like this. That's why I can remember all the emergency codes, but I can't think of what I should do next. It's not like this is my first time being locked in a secured room with a bunch of people I barely know. Enriqueta shouldn't be part of this. Or Carla. Actually, I don't think any of us deserve to be here besides Dan. When the gun fired, there was no one else in the room but Dan and I, or so we thought. Enriqueta was the one who propped the door open. Everyone else came in after the gun went off. Carla was responding to the page. The blood pooled in a few of the little roses on Enriqueta's shirt. I feel bad for helping ruin it. It's her favorite. My chest throbs in pain. I didn't hear what Enriqueta said when Dan's face sprayed all over hers. It was probably just screaming. I'm used to seeing people die. Dan's death wasn't much to watch. It was instant. It wasn't, as I've mentioned, even the first time I've seen someone's head explode like that. But I've never been a fan of guns. First time I pulled the trigger on one, and the door greeter and the girl from Infants gets covered in their boss's gray matter. That ad for Women's Razor comes on again before the loudspeaker goes silent. Today, and from now on, Dan, that clump of managerial dog shit is dead. It should earn me some big box bonus bucks or at least a gold star for the day, but unless I'm smart about this, I won't live long enough to enjoy any of them. Yes, I'm guilty of the one thing most people fantasize about. I shot my boss in the head. That's what the evidence says anyway. When there are two people in a room, one dead and one holding a warm gun, well, that story tells itself. That's why I closed the door and clicked the deadbolt, encasing us in a windowless concrete bunker, otherwise known as the employee lounge. That's why I collected their cell phone and smashed them with the butt of the gun. That's why we're waiting. I need some time to sort this story out. This will definitely make tomorrow's paper. There's a lot of room for headline creativity. Wacko goes Waco at Walmart. This isn't Walmart. Terrorist tragedy at Target, but we're not there either. I doubt many of those places even exist anymore. What will the reporters write about? I wonder what they'll get right. There's a copy of today's paper on the table. The headlines read, unemployment at record high, 35.5%. Celebricides tourism after effect bottoms out. Edward Snowden Center for Information Freedom opens in DC. Reading them, I get to go somewhere else for a while, off somewhere nicer in my own head where I used to think about them more often. But I can't help but think that I ever escaped the celebricides. My ears still buzzing from the gunshot at corral everyone together. I don't know many of them very well, but at least I know their names. Tom, Amy, Tucker, Carla, and Enriqueta. Dan, too. Amy tells me to put the guns down. She pleads that I don't kill her and begs that I think of her children growing up without a mother. I hand her a paper towel to clean off what she can. Carla says this isn't like me. I saw this coming, Tucker says calmly. It's over, give up. You've done enough damage, Amy says over him. She and Carla are attending to Enriqueta. Tom rocks back and forth in his chair near the corner of the room. Tucker picks up the celebrity magazine from the pile on the table. He leaves through it like we're waiting at the dentist. Tucker. I envy him in a few ways, but besides Dan, he's the last person I want in the room. He's always bugged me. The police have finally arrived. They're on the other side of the door, yelling at me. I should be yelling at them. I'm a madman with a death wish, and I don't care who dies with me. But that'll only make me as dead as Dan. The police ask if anyone is injured or needs medical assistance. The magazine Tucker is reading features the one-year special edition on the feature of the death of Jessalyn James. I'm surprised more hasn't come up about it until today. I mean, yeah, some people have made a small comment here and there, but I think most people don't say much out of respect. Dan was different. Carla looks at the emergency phone torn from the wall. The bullet fragments that made it through Dan's bald head took out the smart wall. We're cut off from the outside except for the loudspeaker. This can all end peacefully, a voice says from the other side of the door. Amy sneezes and coughs. She has another cold. Her hands make a farting noise as she rubs a fresh coat of sanitizer between them. Tom begins sobbing hysterically. He and Dan are bit close. Rumor was if you needed a DNA sample from Dan, all you had to do was ask Tom to spit. Now you can mop it off the floor. Carla moves on to consoling Tom. Enriqueta smiles as Amy dabs the last of the blood from her face. John, sweetheart, are you okay? Enriqueta asks. It's a tough question to answer honestly right now. I feel bad. She's among the few people here who knows what I used to do and still likes me. I talk to her every shift we have together. She always makes me tell her stories. Now she's my hostage. Enriqueta and 5 other people I have nothing against. I take my smock off and throw it over what used to be Dan's face. Today is further proof that nothing is ever as simple as it should be. So as you'll understand, as a former retail worker, there's something cathartic about writing about a situation like that. But after my stint in retail, which I hope to God I never have to go back to, in college I started embarking into a little field called investigative journalism. It's actually the best way to be a professional troublemaker. I found out as an investigative reporter, I got to do my 3 favorite things in the whole world. I get to talk to people, I get to write, and I get to piss people off. The big thing for me that always sets off my triggers is when people say one thing and do another. Case in point, when I was at the student newspaper in college, I wrote on very fun, interesting topics, such as the top 10 easiest bars to get into underage. Kind of sound like I'm a buzzkill on that one, but it was a lot of the times like, so if there was a bar, and we were all in there underage, we would all get tickets. The bar wouldn't suffer any consequences, which is kind of BS. They make the money, we pay the fines. I don't like that. Another one is when you report on the recruitment tactics that the local football, that the college football team uses. They're D2 champs, but when they get a recruit drunk and then give him the keys to one of their cars, he gets pulled over and gets a DUI, and any of his recruitment chances are totally blown because of that. That's kind of some BS. So as I said, I had to quit my job to come here and do this tour. Prior to this, I'd been senior writer at hellfind.com, and one of my boss's boss, you know, they send down an order, they pass around a copy of a story from the Atlantic, like, why aren't we doing stories like this? So there's an interesting, if you guys heard of this superbugs in the news, the bacteria we cannot kill. Yeah, good. I love the subject. I failed biology twice in high school, so I had to do a lot of background work on how it works. The interesting thing is what we're now learning, thanks to science, is bacteria have this wonderful way of getting around antibiotics. The easiest way to create these superbugs is you give them low doses of antibiotics, and they get to learn from it. One of the ways they learn, which is, I love this, it's called the funeral grab. So, case in point, we'll put it this way. Say this coffee here is an antibiotic, I drink it, and it kills me. You can all come up here as my dead body lay on the floor and take a chomp out of it, and instantly you all know how to defeat that antibiotic. It's like getting superpowers instantly. And this has been going on actually for years, to the point now where we have lethal strains. They're talking in 10 years, strep throat will be lethal. There is a strain of gonorrhea going around, which is a fun topic to talk about, but it renders women infertile nearly immediately. And there's another one called C. diff. Actually, this is I could figure probably the worst way to die. You take an antibiotic, it kills all the good bacteria in your gut. We probably all have it in us right now. You take an antibiotic, and all of a sudden this C. diff populates your gut, and you shit yourself to death. Again, I still don't know if that would be an open or closed casket, but we shouldn't figure it out.